Constantly abusive, other things going on. There was no control, there was no freedom. Didn't want to start a fight because it was always a black eye, a broken nose, a busted lip.
She looked untouchable. On stage, under the blinding lights, Tina Turner was pure electricity, a whirlwind of fire and freedom, commanding arenas as if the pain of the world had never touched her. To millions, she was the queen of rock and roll, a symbol of strength, resilience, and triumph. But behind the curtain, there was a woman still haunted by nightmares. A woman who had survived one of the darkest marriages in music history, only to discover that the shadows of the past could creep back even in moments of happiness. A year after her passing, whispers have resurfaced. Whispers not about her fame, not about her records, but about the hidden wounds that never fully healed. About the man who once destroyed her and the man who later saved her life. What happened when Tina finally found true love after decades of torment? Why did she choose silence when she could have screamed? And how did her final farewell reveal truths even her most loyal fans never expected? Tonight we peel back the glitter, the power, and the legend to uncover the Tina Turner few truly knew, because the story of Tina Turner isn't just about music, it's about love, violence, survival, forgiveness, and the price of peace. But even at the very end, one question lingered in the silence of her Swiss home. Had Tina Turner finally outrun her past, or did it still follow her into the dark? You're watching RetroWaves, the channel that brings you the untold stories, the hidden battles, and the secret heartbreaks behind the legends of music. If you love peeling back the curtain on icons like Tina Turner, George Michael, or the Bee Gees, make sure you hit subscribe and ring the bell. That way you'll never miss the stories the spotlight tried to hide. Now let's step back in time to the young girl who would become Tina Turner and the storm that would change everything. The world knew her as the ultimate survivor, but survival came at a price. Before she was Tina, she was Anna Mae Bullock, a girl raised in Nutbush, Tennessee, where the fields stretched wide and the future seemed narrow. She found joy in church choirs, in voices lifted toward the heavens. Music wasn't just sound, it was escape. By her teens, she'd stepped into the neon glow of St. Louis clubs. The air was thick with smoke, sweat, and rhythm. And it was here that fate introduced her to a man who promised stardom but delivered chains, Ike Turner. At first he was a savior, offering her a place in his band, a stage name, and a chance at glory. But what Anna Mae didn't yet know was that Ike's gift would come with a curse. She became Tina Turner. But with every note she sang, every record that climbed the charts, her private world grew darker. The world celebrated a fool in love as the birth of a new star. Behind closed doors, Tina was bruised, broken, and terrified. When she married Ike in Mexico, she didn't walk into romance, she walked into a prison, one lined not with steel, but with fists, fear, and silence. Her fans only saw the glamour, the sequins, the towering hair, and the voice that could shatter walls. They never saw the nights she cried, the pills she swallowed in despair, or the violent outbursts she endured just to keep the peace. For years, Tina lived a double life, America's unstoppable icon by day, a woman held hostage by night, and then she broke free. The divorce of 1978 should have been her liberation, and in many ways it was. But leaving Ike wasn't the end of her pain. It was only the beginning of a lifelong battle to silence the ghosts he left behind. Because even when she found new love, new success, and even peace in Switzerland, those shadows never fully let her go. Which raises the question, when Tina Turner finally stepped into the arms of her true love, Irwin Bach, did she find the healing she deserved, or did the scars of her past carve themselves too deep to erase? It all began with a song. In 1960, inside a studio buzzing with musicians, Tina was never meant to sing lead. She was just supposed to back up the kings of rhythm. But when another singer didn't show, Ike Turner shoved a microphone in her hands. Nervously, Tina stepped forward. What came out stunned everyone. Her voice was raw, jagged with power, drenched in emotion. The track was A Fool in Love. And when radio stations picked it up, the world couldn't stop listening. A star had been born.
Waves of action, these flowers of words. That's what you were saying.
But hidden inside that triumph was a trap. The single wasn't just a hit, it was a chain, because from that moment forward, Tina was tied to Ike. To the world, they became the perfect duo, Ike and Tina Turner, dazzling crowds with their electric performances, tearing up stages with sweat, rhythm, and fire. Yet behind the roar of applause, something darker was stirring. Ike wasn't just her musical partner, he became her captor. And as the lights grew brighter, the bruises began to multiply. But no one knew, not yet. By the early 60s, Tina and Ike were household names. It's gonna work out fine. Poor fool. Tra-la-la-la. Hit after hit, stage after stage. To fans, they were unstoppable. But behind closed doors, the marriage was unbearable. Ike was violent, controlling, and consumed by his own demons. He cheated openly. He lashed out in fury. He used fists, threats, and silence to bend Tina to his will. Tina once said she didn't marry Ike for love. She married him because saying no would have meant another beating. On their wedding night, instead of romance, Ike took her to a brothel in Mexico. Her horror wasn't just ignored, it was staged as part of her initiation. Each day blurred into the next. She sang, she smiled, she performed, and then she went home to another night of torment. By 1968, the pain was so deep that Tina attempted to end it all. Pills, despair, silence. She survived, but something inside her shifted. She knew she couldn't live like this forever. Still, the question was, how do you escape when the world thinks your prison is paradise? The 1970s brought bigger stages and louder applause. The Ike and Tina Turner Revue became a phenomenon, opening for the Rolling Stones, conquering Europe, setting stages ablaze with pure energy. To the outside world, they were unstoppable, but inside Tina's body, bruises told another story. She had learned to cover them with makeup, with smiles, with silence. By 1976, she had enough. One night, after yet another violent outburst, Tina ran. With nothing but 36 cents and a mobile gas card, she fled across a Dallas freeway, bloodied and desperate. She wasn't Tina the superstar anymore, she was Tina the survivor. The divorce that followed was long and brutal. Ike tried to drag her down with lawsuits, debt, and intimidation, but Tina asked for nothing. No money, no houses, no royalties. All she wanted was her name, Tina Turner. The name the world adored, and the name Ike had tried to own. By 1978, she was free, but freedom came at a cost. She was broke, scarred, and dismissed by an industry that thought her time had passed. Could she rebuild, or had the world already forgotten her? In the late 70s and early 80s, Tina Turner was starting over. Imagine it, a woman in her 40s carrying the weight of failure in an industry obsessed with youth. Record labels turned her away, critics sneered. But Tina had something no one could kill: grit. She took gigs in Las Vegas, in cabarets, on TV specials where nobody expected much, and then she surprised them. Every performance was fire, every note was survival, carved into sound. Her comeback came in 1984 with Private Dancer. It wasn't just an album, it was a declaration. Songs like What's Love Got to Do with It? And Better Be Good to Me didn't just climb charts, they rewrote Tina's legacy.
Should I be fractured by your lack of devotion? Should I?
She wasn't just Ike's survivor anymore. She was Tina Turner, global icon. But success didn't silence the ghosts. Fame couldn't erase the bruises of memory. Even as she conquered arenas, she still woke up from nightmares. And that's when, unexpectedly, love appeared again. In 1986, Tina stepped off a plane in Germany, exhausted from promotion. She expected a record executive. Instead, a young man with sharp features and kind eyes stepped forward, Irwin Bach. He wasn't there to impress her. He wasn't starstruck. He was simply polite, respectful, human. Tina didn't fall instantly. Her scars were too deep, her trust too broken. But slowly, Irwin's gentleness melted the walls. He didn't demand, he didn't control, he didn't hurt. Still, Tina wrestled with doubts. Could she ever truly love again after Ike? Could she believe in a man's touch without fear? What she didn't know was that Irwin would one day prove his love in ways no one could imagine. Their relationship blossomed. but the past wasn't easy to bury. Tina often relived the horrors of her first marriage. Memories haunted her, sometimes poisoning even her happiest days. Irwin was patient. He held her when she trembled, reassured her when her temper rose, and listened when she needed silence. He gave her what Ike never could, safety. Yet Tina feared commitment. When Irwin asked about marriage, she hesitated, not because she didn't love him, but because she was terrified of the chains a wedding ring once represented. For years they lived together, building a bond few could shake, but the ghosts of Ike Turner lingered like an unwelcome shadow at their table. Would Tina ever be free enough to fully embrace love? After 27 years together, Tina finally gave her answer. In 2013, on the banks of Lake Zurich in Switzerland, she and Irwin married. The ceremony was quiet, elegant, filled with flowers and friends. For Tina, it wasn't just a wedding, it was victory. Proof that she could walk into love without fear, that she could rewrite the story Ike had tried to end. But life had one more test waiting, not in the form of abuse or betrayal, but in the form of her own body. By her 70s, Tina Turner's body began to betray her. She suffered a stroke, she battled intestinal cancer, and then came kidney failure. Doctors told her dialysis could keep her alive, but her quality of life would vanish. For Tina, who had lived through so much suffering, the thought was unbearable. She began preparing herself for death. But Irwin refused. He didn't just promise love, he offered life. Against Tina's protests, he gave her his kidney, a piece of himself, so she could continue. It wasn't just surgery, it was sacrifice, proof of devotion that few men in her life had ever shown. But even as she healed, Tina knew time was slipping away, and so she prepared her final act. By 2019, Tina Turner announced her farewell, not in the form of a tour, but through an HBO documentary simply titled Tina. "This is it," she said, closure. It was her way of saying goodbye to America, to the fans who had carried her, to the pain that had haunted her. She wanted peace. And in May 2023, at her home in Switzerland, Tina Turner passed away at 83. Beside her was the man who had given her both love and life. The world mourned, but Tina had already said her farewell, and yet the question still lingers. Did Tina Turner truly escape the shadows of her past, or did she simply learn to dance with them until the very end? For Tina Turner, the true climax of her life wasn't just the music, it wasn't the sold-out arenas or the platinum records. It was the quiet moment when the woman the world saw as unbreakable finally admitted just how fragile she really was. In her later years, Tina spoke openly about death. She said she wasn't afraid of it. Buddhism had taught her that life was a cycle, one where joy and suffering, triumph and heartbreak were threads of the same fabric. She accepted that her time would come, but Irwin didn't. For him, losing Tina wasn't an option. When her kidneys began to fail, Tina made peace with the idea that she would slip away. But Irwin, younger by 16 years, refused to accept it. He insisted that his future didn't matter without her, and so he offered his kidney, knowing it meant his body would forever carry the mark of sacrifice. Tina resisted at first. "You're young, I'm old," she told him, but he wouldn't back down. For the first time in her life, a man fought not to control her, but to save her. The transplant was successful, and for a few more precious years, Tina was able to live in peace. But even then, the nightmares of Ike haunted her. Irwin admitted that sometimes she woke in the night, reliving memories so dark they felt fresh. He comforted her, but he could never erase them. The truth is, Tina Turner never fully escaped her past. She carried it, the way she carried her voice, raw, scarred, but unforgettable. The bruises faded, the headlines shifted, but inside her, the wounds remained. And yet, maybe that was her triumph. Not that she erased the past, but that she lived with it and still managed to shine. On May 24, 2023, Tina Turner passed away in her Swiss home at the age of 83. The world wept, but Tina had already prepared her farewell. She had told her fans through her documentary, "This is closure. This is the last bow." Her story wasn't just music history, it was a testament to survival. And it leaves us with one haunting question: how much of our pain shapes the person we become, and how much of it do we carry into the grave? When the curtain finally closed on Tina Turner's life, the world reflected not just on her music, but on her humanity. She had been through what many would consider unbearable: poverty, abuse, betrayal, violence, illness, and yet her voice never broke. her spirit never bent. She chose to live, to fight, to sing. Her forgiveness of Ike Turner, late in life, shocked some fans. She said she didn't excuse what he had done, but she released her anger. She had to, because carrying hate was too heavy a burden. But forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. She refused his request to reunite on stage. She knew some wounds were simply too deep to reopen. And then there was Irwin. For nearly 4 decades, he was her anchor. In a world where men had tried to use her, control her, or break her, he chose to protect her, to sacrifice for her, to love her without condition. Their marriage in 2013 wasn't just a celebration, it was a victory. Proof that Tina could finally trust, finally believe, finally find peace in the arms of another. Her legacy is more than songs like Proud Mary,
Left a good job in the city.
or What's Love Got to Do with It?
Got to do with it. Who needs a heart when a heart can?
Her legacy is survival. Her legacy is proof that even the deepest scars can coexist with the brightest triumphs. Fans across the world mourned her passing in 2023, but Tina had already given them her final gift, closure. She left not as a victim, but as a victor, not defined by Ike's abuse, but by her own resilience. And yet the question remains, did Tina Turner truly find peace, or was her peace always a fragile truce with the past? Maybe the answer lies in her own words. I had a very hard life, but I don't put blame on anyone. I moved on. This was the story of Tina Turner, not just the queen of rock and roll, but a woman who carried scars into the spotlight and still managed to shine brighter than anyone else. What do you think? Did Tina truly find peace in the end, or did her past still haunt her, even in her happiest moments? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you want more hidden stories behind the legends, make sure you subscribe to RetroWaves, because for every shining star, there's a shadow the world never sees, and we're here to uncover it. Next time we'll dive into another untold chapter of music history, where fame, love, and heartbreak collide in ways you'll never forget. Until then, remember, legends don't just live on stage, they live in the stories we tell.